Good afternoon. As your friend and host, I'm privileged to share every Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock with you. This is Real Talk Seattle, a part of the Real Estate Radio Network here on Business Radio 1300 KKOL. I'm your host, Ken Crotts. Today we're going to strip away the clutter and get to the truth about buying, selling, and holding real estate, revealing industry secrets and giving you the inside track. I'd like to welcome my guest, Pam Ellis, today, who's the owner of Ellis Designs. Pam has been trained and certified through the Staged Homes organization. She's a part of the Real Estate Staging Association. She's participated on an episode of 2020 and has also participated in an episode of Extreme Home Makeover. Pam has also staged homes for my clients, and she's simply an outstanding stager, very responsive, and I found it one of the most pleasant experiences I've had in real estate. So, Pam, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So today's topic is really about preparing your home for sale. And I want our listeners out there, if they're thinking about selling, to really get a better a sense of what they need to do to have their house ready to go, up to and including staging. So if a homeowner is thinking about moving in the next 3 weeks, 2 months, or if they're ready to list their house today, what advice would you offer them as a first step to get the ball rolling?
Well, a lot of people don't know that stagers can be used from that very, very beginning step. And moving, getting ready to move, getting your house ready is very overwhelming. And really, it's helpful to have a step-by-step plan, and that's where a stager can help. So if you have a professional come in and say, take these things out, pack this away. Often we have contractors that we can recommend. We can choose colors for them. We can give them advice on what things need to be changed out so they don't waste money and time on things that aren't going to really give them any bang for the buck.
So we want to, and I find that in my own business as I consult with clients prior to listing, and as we had discussed earlier, every client that I find has a given amount of time, energy, and money that they can expend towards the preparation of the sale of the house. And I found in 28 years of selling real estate, if we ask them to do more than they're capable of, all it does is creates frustration,
right,
and doesn't really improve the result. Mm-hmm. And so what I hear you saying is a customer or somebody thinking about selling their house should really have you in early.
Absolutely.
Before they start doing a bunch of work, so that you can help guide them towards the most productive use of their time and money to getting their house ready for sale.
Sure, we'll create a things-to-do list to keep them on track so they don't get buried and overwhelmed. And they can refer back to that through the entire process. And then as they get to the end and they're getting close, then they need to have the stager come back in and do some final furniture arranging, or add some art or some plants and accessories, that sort of thing. Maybe they have everything they need. Some people just have amazing stuff, and it's a matter of us coming in and reworking it a bit. Sometimes people just need, a little bit of a accent here and there, some new fresh pillows and that sort of thing. And it might seem minor and unimportant, but those are the things that make the photos pop and make that great first impression for potential buyers.
And that first impression is a really big part of getting top dollar for the house.
Huge. Because, they say that the potential buyer walking through, they have like 3 seconds, if even that they make an opinion of that room. You got to wow them right then and there. And sometimes people say, well, I don't want the couch here because you can't see the TV. I don't care. I'm not about how that room is being used, and that's the difference between interior design and staging. Stagers package the product, the house, for the purposes of selling, and that's going to be different than how a person lives in the home.
So we're taking a home and we're turning it into a product that is designed to appeal to the target audience of the buyer coming into the home.
So a good stager should be doing a little research on that. Who is the most likely buyer? And then target the home, the look of the home and the feel of the home toward that target market.
Now, you're speaking of first impressions. The first impression is really when they drive up to the house. Is there any part of the consultation that addresses landscaping or street appeal?
Absolutely. Very often, and you and I have talked about this, people have these lovely little shrubs they planted and now they're gigantic and they've buried the house. Those things have to be taken down. You're selling the house. Right. Plus, it gives the house a look that it hasn't been well tended, and you want it to feel very manicured and very beautiful. And because, this is another thing that often people forget. When you're standing at the front door and you're waiting for the realtor to fumble around with the key and get it out of there, the buyer is looking around, or the potential buyer looking all around. Are there cobwebs? Is there dust? Is the door scratched up from the dog? What's the kick plate look like? That's what they're looking at, and they're forming that first impression. Is this house taken care of or not? And it might be amazingly taken care of, but if that front door, that first impression doesn't show that, then that's a big negative.
Yeah, I
right
see.
Off the bat.
And that's as they're standing around waiting for the agent to open the door.
Mm-hmm.
If you've just tuned in, you're listening to Real Talk Seattle on Business Radio 1300 KKOL. I'm your host, Ken Crotts. Today we're talking about getting your house prepared for sale with stager Pam Ellis, owner of Ellis Designs. And so the first impression is very important. It starts at the front of the house. On all of my listings, I use high dynamic HDR photography. Mm-hmm. And one of the biggest frustrations I have with houses that are generally over 20 years old is that little fir tree that they planted in the yard is now 40 feet tall, which in of itself is not a problem. But it's just that the base diameter of all the branches coming out is like 40 feet.
Right.
and one of the biggest things I found that improves a house's exterior appeal is to trim those branches up 15 to 20 feet, which really only gives you about 10 to 15 feet of visual height. But that is one of the best things you can do because it creates visual depth. It exposes the house, so you now have some street appeal, and it gives the yard some depth perception, which the camera really likes and really helps the house pop on the front photo, which is, of course, the first thing everybody sees when they're looking for properties online.
That's when they drive up. That's right. And then when they get out of that car and they walk into the front door, that should have fresh, beautiful paint on the front door, big pot of colorful flowers next to it, a brand new fresh floor mat. I can't tell you how many people don't replace that front mat. It's all worn and beat up and scrappy looking.
Full of dirt.
It's full of dirt. But that makes a really, really great first impression. And then the door opens.
Okay, so for the homeowner that's thinking about selling, you'd recommend that they call you right now and have you come by and give an initial consultation, and that comes at a nominal charge, correct?
Right. And I do a full report with that so that they do have a written things to do list. And generally that'll run about $250. You can do a shorter one for a little bit less with no list if they don't need it. But generally, I think if you assume $250, you're going to be about in the ballpark.
Now that includes a color consultation, right?
Yes, it does.
I am a person, I cannot pick colors, and I have long ago acquiesced to that fact of life.
You're not alone.
And I hire people to pick colors. I buy and sell properties with different partners, and boy, colors make a huge difference, and it's a gift to be able to pick them.
It helps, because it's a costly mistake. And some people will call me, realtors or homeowners, they'll say, just tell me that color you use everywhere. And there is no such color because colors are affected by all kinds of things. Lighting in the home, the direction of the outdoor light. If you have north light coming in, it completely affects the color of the walls inside.
Really?
Completely. Or if it's a south, sometimes you might have a soft yellow. Not that anybody's using yellow so much, by the way, right now. But it could look like a school bus in certain windows. And subtle lemon, soft chiffon yellow in another room. So there's a lot to color. And as far as exterior colors, you have to consider the houses on either side.
Sure.
What color is your roof?
Right.
These kinds of things all come into play.
Okay, well that's great because and that's included in that consultation, and that's what I really wanted to get to because
what a deal.
Boy, I'll tell you what. For me, I've some of the best properties that I've bought and sold were bought and sold very successfully as a result of just color changes, and with the help of a consultation by somebody like yourself. So, all right, somebody comes to the door, they drive up, we've got the trees trimmed up, the realtor's getting the key out, they've got a good first impression, new mat, nice bright flowers at the door. Okay, they're in the door, in the entry. What do you do there?
Well,
Or
Most
does it
of us
depend?
have little bits of furniture here and there because maybe our grandmother gave it to us or our son left it there when they moved off to college or whatever. Get rid of all those little pieces of furniture and just have the basic pieces. So you're in a living room, you have a sofa, you have a chair, or a sofa love, coffee table, bam. That's pretty much it. Maybe a sofa table against the wall if you need it. But get rid of all those little tiny extra
Knickknacks?
pieces. Definitely the knickknacks, but the
Yes.
little pieces of furniture. You don't want to clog the room up. You're selling the house. You're not selling your things. You want open visual flow.
Simplicity.
And you don't want to block anything. You don't want to block the visual flow. So you want to move that furniture to an open arrangement. That's a real big piece.
Well, that's great. And I tell my clients that as well. You don't want to block the visual or the physical impediments. You don't want to create choke points.
Yes.
And again, I'm going to go back to the photography because that's one of the big things that causes our properties to sell and to really pop in the presentation. Is cameras don't like the clutter. That you have to minimize the number of objects in the photograph. Otherwise,
And make them big. If it's a lot of
Yes.
little stuff, it just reads as clutter in the camera.
Exactly.
So whatever I put into a home, whether it's a centerpiece or some things on a shelf or whatever, it's big, it's bold, it's simple, and you can read it a mile away.
Perfect. Yeah, and in taking the family photos down, it's not that your family isn't attractive or people don't connect
It's
with
a
you.
distraction.
It's just a
First
distraction.
of all, but it's also you want people to connect emotionally with the home. And so when you walk into a home with a bunch of family photos, what does that say? You're in somebody else's home.
Great. Well, we're here with Pam Ellis. You're listening to Real Talk Seattle with your host, Ken Crotts, on Business Radio 1300 KKOL. Our special guest here, Pam Ellis with Ellis Design, is sharing with us how to prepare your house for sale. And after the break, we're going to get a little bit more in depth in terms of what a stager can really do for you.